Nevertheless, let's get into our first topic. And our first topic is Fast and Furious 9. Its opening weekend here has broken. I feel like we're going to be saying this a lot as theaters continue to open and like bigger movies continue to come out. But it is now another movie has broken the pandemic record here, and it's Fast 9 with a modest, I guess, for like opening weekends and like normal circumstances go, but it's a $68 million debut, which is another new pandemic high. So we have that. Like I kind of said off the top, I expected it to have a big opening because all of the Fast and the Furious movies, I mean, they're it's a $1 billion franchise at this point. They're kind of expected to make this much money. Even the spin-off movie Hobbs and Shaw made about 800 and almost $900 million, if I'm not mistaken. So
It's
the
not no small chunk of change.
yeah, I mean the Fast and Furious name brings, it's a big franchise. It's a big popcorn, dumb fun movie. So this is not surprising by any means. The real question is, at least for me, is will this thing have any legs given the lack of enthusiasm from the audience? Like, will it have good word of mouth? Will people actually go out and continue seeing the movie? That remains to be seen. It's like I said, I haven't really heard too many good things about it. So I'm curious here. John is someone who is like, I don't know, respectably, you say you've watched all of them at the very least. Do you think this thing is going to have any legs? Or do you think this thing is gonna be a $500 million movie? You think it's gonna be the biggest movie in the pandemic so far, or do you think Black Widow is gonna take that cake?
Well, it will definitely. I will. If I was a betting man, I'd put plenty of money down on it being the biggest pandemic movie so far. I personally think the Black Widow will beat it, but Black Widow also has another 2 to 3 weeks before it releases. So, I think Fast and Furious might have a decent run at the box office. Obviously, there's multiple factors at play that give it that possibility. The first is there isn't a lot of other movies coming out. I mean, there are other movies coming out, but not like you would typically see during a normal summer, during a summer that wasn't following a gigantic pandemic. So it's not going to have the competition for screens. I mean, like you can still in my area, you can still see Kong versus Godzilla on some screens. Like it's just there's just not a lot of other films coming out that's going to push it off of screen. So when people are thinking about going to the theater, that's going to be an option for them. So I think it's going to have some legs with that regard. I also think it's going to have some legs with in regards to there are going to be some people that didn't want to go see it opening weekend because of the crowds. They were still, a little gun shy about the pandemic and whether or not who's vaccinated, who's not, whether or not they've had their vaccine, this, that, and the other thing. So there are going to be some people I think that still want to go see it in the theater, but are going to play it on the safe side and give it some time for the crowds to die down. I don't think word of mouth really hurts this type of film too much. I don't think nobody's ever talked about the Oscar contention for any of the previous 8 films in this series, so I don't think people are necessarily looking for some high bar for them to clear. So even if people don't love it, I think people will still. Does it have big action set pieces? It does. Okay. Does it have like Vin Diesel being Vin Diesel? It does. Okay. Well, I'll go see it. So that's kind of I don't think that it'll be a $500 million movie. I don't think it'll be $500 million just because I still think we're still dealing with the pandemic effects and theaters getting used to going back to the theaters but I could see it making. I mean, it's going to hit 70 after this weekend, so given some legs, maybe it hits 200 million, maybe 225 if it really goes deep into the summer. But that's kind of that that's kind of where I think it'll end up.
Well, you made a good point there, which is really there's not a lot of stuff out there right now, and then like Godzilla versus Kong still being available in theaters, so it could just by virtue of being in the theaters for a much longer period of time than normal, that might help it. But I
Yeah,
do agree. I think what this really does is really bode well for Black Widow more so than anything to be the bigger movie at this
sure.
point because we talked about it a couple weeks ago, like which one would be what movie would be the first $100 million opening weekend movie. I think we both said Black Widow, but
Yeah, I think we said Fast. We both said Fast 9 has a chance, but we thought that the more likely was Black Widow.
yeah, and I think seeing that this was able with the poor like reviews being in the stratosphere prior to opening weekend, because the review embargo was lifted prior to this coming out, and it was still able to get 70 million. I think that bodes well for Black Widow more so than
Well,
anything.
if you look at the box office return for this too, it was 7 million Thursday previews, I believe. And then but that gets grouped in with Friday. So Friday was 30 million. Today was like 22 and they're anticipating whatever the remainder is for tomorrow. I mean, it could, they could also just be misevaluating people's interest. It could do gangbusters tomorrow and end up with closer to an $80 million opening. This post-pandemic evaluations might need some adjustment as we go forward. So who knows? But I think that it was very front loaded in terms of this weekend with it making 30 on Friday just because of people's anticipation for it, the diehard fans more or less. And now it's like now you're down to like we'll get the casual fans to come in.
Right. So Rick, you're the least Fast and Furious fan here, the biggest Debbie Downer of the franchise. What are you thinking about, hearing it making this much money, and do you think it's going to be big? You think it's going to be
Yeah, yeah,
huge?
no, I think it'll be huge. Despite how I view it and what my thoughts are on it and all that, it's such a popular franchise.
Look Vin Diesel in the eye and talk shit about it.
Dude, I already was. I haven't pulled up on the monitor, and I was just like, man, you give me this weird look. Like, stop looking at me like that. But no, I'm sure it'll do great. And like you said, I mean, it's only Saturday, so in theory, they could have a huge day tomorrow, and it could be a gangbuster opening weekend, like you said. So, despite my views on it, I think it's gonna do well.
That is the thing. Like, it's already at about 70 mil. So there's a solid chance this thing can make another 30.
People go
I mean,
out on
Saturday's not
Sundays.
over yet.
But no, I mean, like, are they taking into account all the showings tonight? Like,
That's what I'm saying. Whether they they're not. Like, what I mean? They never know.
Saturday's a big
They
movie
have
night.
pre-sales they can generate some information off of, like pre-sale tickets and everything, but not everything. Some people still walk in and buy tickets there. You know what I mean? Like, you
Yeah,
don't know. Like, so that all they would have any information to judge on are pre-sales for the remainder of Saturday and Sunday. And yes, people, if you're watching the show, like this is being filmed on a Saturday, so that's why. Like, because the
yeah.
show's gonna come
I
out
didn't want to let the
Monday, so
secret
like,
out.
yeah, like we don't know yet. This is still projections are showing. Was it projections showing 68, or is that where it's at
I
right
think
now?
that's where it's at.
No, the
That's
The
projection is
projection.
68.
yeah.
It
Okay.
was 30 Friday, 20 22 today is the ended projection. Like midday today, they were projecting 22
Hmm.
today. And then so that gets you to 52 and so that would be 16 they're predicting for tomorrow.
Right. So you never know. Like I said, everything. The real basis of that kind of projection is a lot of pre-sale tickets, and then like and I don't know how they get all their analytics in through it. So, but like I said, there are still plenty of people who make last minute decisions. There could be a lot of people that make last minute decisions. Given this a pandemic, people aren't really keeping an eye on movies when they come out. Like I didn't even realize it was coming out this weekend. I haven't been paying attention. You know what I mean? So I think it's definitely possible. Being at a $70 million projection, there's a chance where it's a slim chance it could get to anywhere near 100. I think John's estimation of it, like, it could be an $80 million opening. Like it could be. That's a pretty good estimation in my opinion. So we'll just have to see in the end. I think this just mainly bodes well for Black Widow because this movie, like I said, it's had some poor reception, coming ahead of, the reviews coming out ahead of the movie, so I think that maybe you've heard it a little bit, but, like John said, this is more of a review immune kind of franchise, like, it doesn't matter how shitty the movie is reviewed or even how shitty the movie is in general, people normally they keep seeing these movies, like because I kind of agree with Rick at some point, like, Tokyo Drift was god awful. It was god awful. But I don't think that one made a lot of money. And Come Fast 5, that they really just like leaned into kind of the ridiculous nature of everything. And like I thought Fast 5 was great. It was good fun. So I don't know. The question is, guys, have you seen Fast 9? Are you going to see Fast 9? And do you think this thing has the potential to be like the first? So I don't think Godzilla versus Kong made it up to 500 million. I think it was close to 500 million, but I don't think it made it. So do you think this will be the first $500 million COVID pandemic level movie? Let us know what you think down in the comment section below.